If you're looking for emerging small cap stock that is literally shattering the performance metrics of an old conventional industry and getting the biggest player in the industry to partner up with them, then you're going to love this interview with HPQ Silicon. Why? Silicon metal manufacturing is the largest emitter of CO2 on a per ton basis on the planet. HPQ Silicon is on the verge of shattering the manufacturing process of fumed silica, which is used in cosmetics, toothpaste, powdered foods, but needs to burn silicon in the process. How disruptive is HPQ Silicon's brand new process? Well, the reductions in greenhouse gases, energy consumption, and the elimination of hydrogen chloride gas led to HPQ signing a letter of intent with Evonik Corporation, a $10 billion company, and the inventor of Fumed Silica just a couple of months ago on July the 9th. And here to discuss the press release, HPQ Fumed Silica reactor commissioning completed. Sounds like a Tom Cruise movie. Mission complete. And here to talk about is Bernard. Welcome back on a Friday, buddy.
Yeah, thanks. Hi. I decided it would surprise people with issuing a good news on Friday. I know people have no clue how to deal with this.
Yeah, it threw me for a loop because everyone was waiting for Thursday. You know, you love to do them on Thursday. And then I was thinking to myself, Monday, the markets are closed.
No, they're actually open. The markets are open, but the banks are closed.
Okay, so I thought I had the day off. Damn. But my point is, I'm like, and then boom, comes out Friday morning. So that was a pretty good. Did you do that on purpose, or just need that time because you literally commissioned it all yesterday and you had to put it out today?
Mix of both, but it had to come out this week. It had to come out this week. It was this week. We had to finish it. We had to get it ready. I just waited till, the hot blank test was truly completed, and we were good, and that's it. But it came out to be Friday, and I thought, you know what? It's a good news. It's a check mark on a milestone we had to do. It's not a earth-shattering news, but it's a very positive news.
Well, listen, you had telegraphed this for a long time. You said this is going to happen in Q3. So the end of Q3 is on Monday. So people knew it was coming, but it's still a big milestone, right? So,
well,
how big of a milestone is it that now that it's official, and how happy should shareholders be? They are, but now that it's official, it's done. How big is this for the company and the shareholders?
It's one of those milestones that we needed to, but I am conscious. I am cautious also, but I'm also conscious that we did have a track record of, because we're an R&D company, not really living up with exactitude with our timeline. So what we try to do is do two things: minimize the concept of timeline, because that's what we do, because there's a lot of things we don't control, and basically update people on a regular basis. Now, if I wouldn't have issued it now, I issued it next Tuesday, next Wednesday, by the entire weekend, you would have had Futster writing things. It's not ready, but you know how it is. It's like so we've done this. It's out of the way. Now we can focus on making the stuff, sending it, getting approved, and basically looking at building commercial plant. So it's one of those great milestones that we knew we'd reach. I've told you many, many times I knew we'd be reaching it. Okay. I always hope that we would beat our timeline, but the fact that we meet it. So, okay, in the sense that we finished commissioning during Q3. So during Q4, the next step now is making the stuff, getting it approved, sending it to people, and start to think about the design of the first commercial plant and the financing of those issues, which is something that the guys at Evonik have been impatient with us getting there. Impatience is a big word. Okay, they can't wait for it to happen. I think the impatient isn't the negative impatient; it's a positive impatience. I don't know if that makes sense.
Like the kid in the candy store waiting to get the candy. But hold on, don't hop too far ahead, because obviously, we otherwise I'll say, okay, that's the end of the interview.
It's Friday. I'm hopping, like I'm getting for the weekend, like the horse.
Quote, this is a big statement you made. We are proud to be at the forefront of a transformation that will revolutionize fumed silica manufacturing. You can't say that lightly when you've got an LOI with the likes of Evonik, and we know you've got NDAs with others, and we know from a previous interview you said,
but that's
the phone's ringing with others as well.
Yes, it is, but that's
That's a
not
bold
what.
statement.
Yes, but it's not the LOI with Evonik. It's not all those issues that made me make that statement. Okay, it's the fact that we've done it at pilots at lab scale. Okay, and we've done it. It's been validated by the biggest people, and even the other one that got like minuscule amount are getting interested, and I got more and more people that want the material. So that is really what's revolutionizing the industry in the sense the process, the cost, the structures, those materials, and where we go with it. Because I am extremely confident that there'll be massive new application to fume silica that will be used that we don't know yet that can come in fruition because of our environmental structure, our cost of manufacturing, those issues. So this is
You could
I
set
tell you,
off an expansion in the applications of fumed silica just because you've completely reinvented the manufacturing process. And I'm not just talking
mm,
about the reinvention, but like you said, the cost
mm,
structure, the energy usage, all of
mm.
that. You're saying could open up. You could single handedly open up the whole market, Bernard. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're thinking?
Single-handedly is a big word for a company like HPQ, but it can lead to the application of our technology could lead down that path. Okay, that rabbit hole that can be big. There's multiple ways that they can evolve. But for us, the key, okay, was what? Once making it a lab scale, getting a major to confirm that we've done it, okay? Then planning out how we're going to scale it up to lab scale, how we're going to scale it up to commercial scale, and now we're at commercial scale. The commissioning is finished. Now we're looking at starting to making the stuff. That's pretty darn exciting, you know.
In the timeline, actually, before I go to the timeline of what's to come, there was a question on Agoracom where somebody asked, "What is quote with successful completion of the FSR hot blank test? What is a hot blank test?"
Well, basically, you heat up the reactor, make sure it doesn't crack, doesn't work, everything's operating. I've been through this through the QRR, and this time around, having learned, you do learn when you hit your head on the wall a few times. Well, maybe in my case it takes some more because I'm stubborn, but still, you do let to figure out what's the general concept, but you don't get into too much detail. So basically, hot blank test was what we actually wrote in a previous press release when we said the commissioning had started, okay, what we had earmarked as at the end of the commissioning phase. Then we go to the operational phase, and then we start discussing what it is. In the operation phase, everybody knows, what's going to be the end result of this is making fume silica. That makes sense? You
Yep,
you
yep.
you look charged. You look like I stumbled you there.
No. That's I was actually reading my next question because that makes sense.
You were
You
not
heated the
paying
whole thing
attention to
up,
my
you fire the
answer.
whole thing up just to make you're basically Elon Musk firing you're firing the rockets while it's still on the ground just to make sure before you launch this thing that the test firing goes well. So that's what it sounds like. Uh,
Mhm.
you gave a timeline. Okay, so I'm not going to go through the details, but two things stood out. Part one, the produced fumed silica will undergo internal testing, fine, and samples will be sent to Evonik and potentially other parties under NDA for evaluation. So let's talk about obviously Evonik is,
Mhm.
the girl that you're at the dance with. We know that and we love them for that. Let's talk about the potentially other parties. What would dictate potentially other parties? Are you just kind of throwing that out there because, well, you never know, maybe George is going to ask me for some samples, or do you have reason to believe that
Don't
the indications are there?
don't take it personally, George, but you're not the type of person for whom I would send sample to. I'm more demanding than
Yeah.
this. It's just a reality of that, and it's part of the request. Will we do it? That's why I wrote potentially. There's no guarantee we'll do it. Maybe Ivana's going to say we're going to buy all the freaking samples. We don't want you sending. You said okay. Or maybe somebody else is going to offer me a lot of money for the samples. It's just I want people to understand that you know we have an LOI, so we have a preferred person we would like to work with for multiple reasons. Okay, but there's interest in what's coming up, and as we move forward, there's going to be more and more interest into this. And there's a lot of reason why this is coming into fruition. We started this project in Fumed Silica and the discussion with one of the majors, okay, probably in the worst year for Fumed Silica manufacturing ever. After COVID, there was like, and the Fumed Silica industry went through a very bad period. Okay. Okay, it's bad for them because it's a cost structure, selling price, and demand. Demand for construction. Because you talk about all the application. One of the biggest application of Fumed Silica, okay, is to make silicone. And now I'm saying it correctly. The Anglos that keep correcting me. I'm talking about silicone, not silicon, silicone. Okay, and it's one of the material you use that's used in construction. So if there is more economic activity, all right, doesn't take a genius to figure out the demand for fumed silica is going to go up. So everything is falling into the right place at the right time for what we're doing. Our technology is coming into it. It's very serendipitous the way things are falling into places. The same thing for the battery space. Okay.
Now, I want to kind of follow up on something you said there. You said maybe Evonik will buy out all the samples, or is it money that's going to determine who gets the samples, or is it a case of, okay, we've made enough that we can provide Evonik and Georgecom and this other company with samples? Is it money that's going to determine who gets the samples, or is it going to be quantities?
No, it's
Because
going to be business.
I would think you don't want someone to buy out the samples and close out everybody else. I would think, but I've got to ask, so I'm asking.
There's always the quantity is not going to be a big issue. Okay, all right. You got to remember that for companies to validate this material, they'll need what, a kilogram of the stuff. Okay. So when we're going to start operating on a continuous basis to do what's the number we say, 200 kilogram a day? Oh, God, I can't believe my brain's already blown there. Yeah, when we start at least 200 kilograms of material when we start operating continuously. When we're going to produce, once we get the system working, we'll do between. It's not bad. I got to reread my stuff. We'll do 161 kilogram a day when we'll be operating at the pilot plant, not a commercial plant, pilot plant. More than enough to fulfill sample requests from everywhere else.
Yeah. So could somebody come along and say, we're going to buy 161 kilograms? I don't think so. Like, I would think that you wouldn't want someone to buy all of it and not.
Depends how big the check is.
Okay. All right. That's then I guess we shall see that. The second thing that stuck out was, typically I would ask you, so Bernard, what's give us an indication of timing. So that first part, samples be sent out to Evonik and potential other parties. And then you say by Q1 2025, the folks will shift to optimizing pilot plant operations. So is it fair to say that you expect in Q4 to be able to send out the samples, that the samples will be going out in Q4 by the end of Q4 for analysis?
I'd be
just by that statement.
Well, I don't know. The way I read that statement is, since we started the machine and we'll be making material, it's going to be, I'd be very, very depressed if we were at end of Q4. I don't think so. I think it's going to be long before we start having material. Listen, press release says pilot plant ready to start producing material. I don't know. I thought it was pretty clear.
Okay, so the material, so you could have the samples out. You're saying much sooner than the Q4.
Yeah. When we say, if you read the timeline correctly, okay, our first objective is when we start to do the machine, replicate what we did at lab scale. Okay. Once we've done this, we know, like Nirvana, we've done it. We're happy. Then we're gonna start saying, okay. Then we're gonna start improving the material, improving the yield, go to semi-continuous, those type of operation. It's not instantaneous. It's not like you're getting a new car from a dealer that's been basically road tested for many, many times. All right. So it's a new machine, it's a new process, a new concept. And remember that as we do this, okay, our mind is on the end game, which is scaling this up to 1,000 tons per year. So we're not looking at doing solutions that are only going to work at lab scale. They're not going to be commercial. So we always think commercial scale, commercial scale, commercial scale.
Earlier you said Evonik is impatient, but in a good way. They're anxious, I guess. They let's go, right? They're
Mhm.
not in a bad way. So the question I had long before you said that was, how does this milestone now further accelerate the relationship with Evonik? Because obviously they're looking for all these milestones, right? No one just took it for granted that commission be completed. It is. How does this beneficially impact our relationship with Evonik now?
What happens is that, they wanted to come and visit us, and once we have the plant working, we'll be happy to entertain visitors. And well, okay, don't send me emails saying you have a shoe shares the company you want to visit. Those are not the type of visitors we're looking for. Not that we don't like to, we just don't do that anymore. But those will be the type of discussion. Listen, without getting too much confidential material we've discussed with Evonik, in their mind, the scaling up is not a big issue. So it's right now our issue is more we want to have a darn good control over the cost structure. We know it's going to be great. We want to have a darn good control over the cost structure before we start the nitty-gritty hardball negotiation about the next step. We know where it's going to go.
And is it fair to say you guys have kind of started those discussions pending finalization of the final cost structure? Are
It's they would like to start up those negotiations, but there's still a few kinks on our side to resolve. One of them is, we have to resolve the shareholder agreement between HPQ and Pyro. Not that we're in a big rush for it, but we'll do it. It's going to be done in Q4. We're going to get that all resolved. But that doesn't stop the discussion and negotiation because, the Pyro is fully aware of all the discussion I'm having with with Evonik and everybody else. So it's just we want to make sure that we do things in a logical, coherent process. We know that the technology works to transfer quartz directly to fumed silica. That is commercial material. Now, very, very soon, we will be demonstrating that the scaling up works and we make the shit. As some investors do tell me, do you really make the shit? Yes, we do. But we made it at lab scale, and I'll be excited to say, yes, we made the shit at pilot scale. Because if we go from pilot to lab scale, which I'm surprised you didn't take that quote. I said I was extremely confident we're going to reach that goal. We are highly confident in the next
well,
step.
no, I actually have that.
Hey, well,
I
that's
have that.
you're
I have
confusing me.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's Friday. It's
But
like it's like you either you're so excited or it's Friday and you just want to get to your weekend because the
I'm
next question I
no
was
no
going to
no
have after this was
I'm really excited about this. I'm happy to
good. That's
presenting this
awesome.
on a weekend, but I'll let you ask the question. But the concept is we're there.
Is it too early to say that you're happy with how the discussions are going with Evonik? I know nothing's been set in stone, but is there a good vibe, I guess, going as far as your discussions with Evonik?
I'd like to bring this back, okay, to how this evolved, and we've done this through many interviews, okay. And when Evonik was an unnamed entity, which we signed an NDA, I remember telling you, they saw the pictures and they looks like great material. We had a few futzers. They saw the picture. What an idiot. Anyway, you understand what I mean, okay? That moment. But what you have to also to understand is the goal of Evonik was just they're doing what's called deep dive intelligence, smart market research to see if this technology be something that could eventually become a threat or an opportunity. That's part of their research. Okay. And I can tell you that the overlying opinion of the people I was having discussion with was, well, we're going to take a look at the material. And I'm going to send you a dear Bernard, fuck off. Your technology doesn't work. We had this, but we said it in a friendly, fashionly way. And he came back to us, no, we can't say this. The material is really good. So we've been having those ongoing discussions. It's been advancing. It's progressing well. You got to do step by step. You can't go too fast. We'd
Yeah,
like
that's why I'm
to
asking
go
about the vibe.
yeah.
That's why I'm not
Yeah,
saying
the
where's
the
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 definitive
vibe
agreement, but is it everyone
vibe is
feeling
very
good? Really, everyone's feeling good about how you're going to work together. You just still got to iron out some of the details on cost structures, but
it's just it's
that's what I'm asking
it's
how the vibe,
to the
because
point.
that's the
Okay,
best you can get is the vibe right now.
okay. The best answer I can give to where we are right now, the vibes are very, very good. Okay, and they're very good
Nice.
from my perspective in the sense that I really like working with them. Okay. I really like working with the team there. And I'm very happy to where we go. And I understand that it can be an incredibly great, mutually beneficial type of development going forward. This being said, I'm not naive, okay? And I am, I'm ready with a plan B and plan C if need be, because the technology we have is so game changing that the plan B and the plan C could be as good as the plan A.
And speaking of plan A, plan B, plan C, here's the question I have because you just alluded to it. You said, quote, we're highly confident that the next steps in the program will be completed successfully. Where does that confidence come from? Because I was going to dovetail that into what fresh new challenges might you face? But it sounds like, because I want to ask you, okay, what fresh new, now that you're going to be at this stage now, but you're saying we're highly confident that the next steps of the program will be completed successfully. So how do you guys know that already? Where does that level of confidence come from?
Okay, I've gone through the ringer with the QRR testing, okay, which is successful, but it was a painful birth. Okay, it was a painful birth. And I've seen the modifications done to the equipment at the beginning, the thinking, the line of where we're going, so I know it's going to be, I understand what's going to happen in the process. It's making a sausage, okay? You probably don't want to take a look at everything that's going on, but at the end, it can be darn good. Okay, so there's a part of it that's the sausage making, but the first time we did the sausage, it was not a nice thing. We put the whole cow there. Maybe we didn't, you understand the image. But this time,
A lot of blood was flying
there was
everywhere.
the blood. There was a lot of blood
It was
flying.
very bloody.
Nothing negative that warranted to be put into it. But it's like you don't describe every time. Oh, they turned a screw there. They turned it through. So this, it's like that's not what being transparent is. Transparency. Do we reach the target or not? We're moving forward. That's it. And that's a level of transparency we have. But in this regard to this process, I feel much more comfortable about the thing. And I also feel much more comfortable about the team at Power. Not that I have any issue, but it's the same team that did the QRR. So we went through the ringer together, so we understand where we're going.
Yeah, so you're not as is it fair to say then you're not as concerned about whether it can produce the samples correctly and all that. You're pretty confident that's not going to be an issue. It's just a case of quantities and how fast it happens, but you don't see
Yeah, and
any real
and
issues there.
and even if there's some issues that happen, they'll be resolved and move forward. They will, it's like it's part. I have a better grasp of the R&D process. I have a better grasp of the commercialization process, and this is extraordinarily important when I'm doing the battery work too. So, it's when we were doing the QRR, everything was so 100% focused toward just the QRR. Okay. It seemed to have been like binary. If QRR doesn't succeed very, very well, it doesn't work. And moving things forward. In the case of the fumed silica, we know where it is in the process. We know what's going to be the outtake. We already have some people really showing interest coming into this. That's moving forward. I don't know if that makes sense, but
How is that level of interest? I mean, the press release just went out today, obviously, but do you expect that this press release will lead to the phone ringing next week?
how many
George
people?
Comsil.
There's not that many companies in it. I've already probably done the turn of everybody. So it's like, I don't really expect anything not true. Like I know actually that's not true. I had a very interesting discussion with with another group that showed interest for a specific part of the market geographically on the world for their application technology. I have ongoing discussion with another group that's interested in doing this because they want for their continent, which happens to be Africa, to be able to have it, so they don't buy the fume silica from China. The same dynamics are going everywhere else. So there is ongoing type of parallel discussions that are going on at the same time. The main focus for me, regard to fume silica, making the material, having the sample tests, sample meets, sample, and then having the material validated.
A couple of things came out, small technical things, but as a result of going through this commissioning phase, one, you revised the model for the energy required to produce. Was that a
Mm-hmm.
big revision, a big upwards revision?
It was a downward revision, my friend. Don't you remember?
It was what?
It was a downward. We revised by about what would we revised from going from 10 to 15 kilowatt per hour per kilogram to 8 to 12, which resulted in the numbers we
Well, that's what I mean by upward revision. I mean a positive
well,
revision.
I call that a downward revision, maybe in a French. That's that's the problem I always have in math and those type of discussions between French and English. You guys do your question completely reversed.
Well, if the result gets better, it's an upward revision. That it's not the it's not you're not it's not the nominal amount. It's is it
But
better or worse? It's upward
but you
revision.
do understand those type of little communication issues. Even you're perfectly bilingual, you can get up in those type of situations. I even have those type of problems with the French in France. They'll start with one
Well, it
word
was
and it means
positive.
something else. Yeah.
It was
Anyways,
positive. So, and I thought, by the way, this might have been more than the last one. Maybe you had further,
no.
positive revisions.
There's and basically, if any further positive thing goes to the fact that we continuously work on thinking how we're going to scale this up, okay, and where we can make sure that what we're doing here is easy to scale up. So we think scaling up. Our ideas, as opposed to QRR, we'll get it to work and then we'll start thinking about scaling up. In this case, we're starting to think, okay, this to make this work, how are we going to scale this up once we get it there? It's a small changing of attitude to where we're doing it, but it's ongoing.
And you also said as well validation of system design concepts that could help minimize risk and reduce the time required to scale from 50 tons per year, the pilot, to 1,000 tons per year, the commercial scale. So it seems like you potentially also minimize risk and reduce the time required to scale up as a result as you're going through this commissioning phase.
That's all part of like what the commissioning. That's why the commissioning took us the entire period. We thought we'd finish a bit earlier, but if at the end, like what I'm looking for is how can we go as fast as we can to commercial scale production. And if that requires us to work a little bit longer in the commissioning phase, to be a little bit shorter in the production, it's a trade-off I'm willing to take.
So it's Friday. You're feeling good, obviously, because we talked about this a couple of times. Monday morning, what happens? What's it? You guys firing this baby up Monday morning?
You know what? I'm not going to interject in those type of discussions. They'll start it up when the time is around. They're going to get ready to start it up and get it going. That's out of the way. We're now moving to the next thing, and then I'm going to be more concentrated also on doing some battery work, because today was sort of like a crazy day for me. Because we were supposed to do this interview earlier, but we were finishing.
We're supposed to do it at 10:30 in the morning, and then you said I'm in the middle of doing this, so I need to do it later. What were you? I don't know. What were you doing?
There's an open grant competition in Canada for advanced material to improve battery manufacturing. And I think we meant. Were you talking to Google?
Sorry, I expect you to go a little longer. My bank was calling. Had to tell them calling back in 10 minutes because they had to confirm some. I put you on mute for 10 seconds. You couldn't just.
I saw your mouth moving. It was like, what's going on here? Like I was seeing your mouth moving. Like, what is this? He's mouthing at me or what?
It's a Friday. Hey, this is why I never do a press release on a Friday again. Okay.
Oh well, no. If I have to do one on Friday, I'll do it on a Friday. You know what? We'll go back to the technicality of the press release. This is really like one of those news that was so expected to just get it out of the way so we can go back to talk about the really exciting thing next week. Battery, making fumed silica, getting those things moving. So as I was saying, we have basically been one of the chosen few that have been allowed to go to the next round. And the next round is preparing a long, convoluted document that you have to fit into the specific format. So today was the day where I was finishing the plugging everything into it with a number of characters and those issues. But I'm very excited. I'm also very excited about this because, we do know that in the battery space we have something unique going in the right direction. That's gonna show a lot of interest too. So, as I said many times in the battery space, I would dare to say we are where we were about a year and a half ago when we were starting the fume silica thing. But and the market's bigger, the opportunities are bigger, the things are there. So I'm very excited about, very excited about fume silica, very excited about the battery space, and we're very excited too about the hydrogen space. But
I was gonna say, and we got two more legs, but okay, it's just maybe people say one at a time. You're dealing with two at a time right now. Q4 begins officially on Tuesday. I think that's October 1st on Tuesday. Uh, do you expect a lot of activity in Q4 because now you have the battery side and the fume silica side
Mhm.
really accelerating?
Yes.
I mean, we could basically talk. You and I have been talking basically every 7 to 10 days right now. So is it fair to say that pace is going to, at the very least, maintain, if not actually accelerate?
I would gamble and maintain to accelerate because things are moving forward. All the pieces of the puzzle in every area seems to be falling into places. From our relationship with
Well, that's for
QIMC
sure.
to the development with the Innovation for the batteries to the fume silica to our discussion with majors in those areas. It's like it's a never ending story to discussions. It's like funny, like I'm in discussion with some U.S. financial institution, and they know that I presented to them, okay, our strategy for the year, and they keep calling me back. You hit another milestone. You hit another milestone. Keep hitting those milestones. So it's very positive for the future.
Bernard, great news today, my man, on a Friday. So you almost gave some people a heart attack because I noticed that some people were saying, "Hey, the fume silicon news isn't out." Uh, he's
Well,
not going
they
to.
had a heart attack yesterday, and then the futzer are trying to make fun of it having a heart attack today. Like, okay.
Hey, last thing, last thing.
Mhm.
Can we officially say no more talk about Fudsters because
But it's
the
not
company just
it's
moved along too far?
Mhm.
Can we just stop?
I
I think we can say we can stop talking about them, right? Because they're really, I mean, they can always say what they want, but we don't need to.
That's
You
my point is here, and it goes to what Save Canadian Miner comes out. Okay, I see deliberate market manipulation through spoofing, through illegal trading. Okay, I see it happening. It's to my eyes. I'm very happy that your friend at the nickel. I'm having a memory blank on his name. Terry. Uh,
Lynch.
yeah, Lynch. He started this because at the beginning I was also preaching that we were all preaching that. Now it's clear as day. People see it happening. Okay. When we're going to start the strategy, the communication strategy for safe Canadian mining, trust me, we will
Next
have
week.
somebody, we'll have somebody in HPQ that says, "Hey, look at this. Isn't this interesting? The same houses that do the 79, go take a look. The house 79 does the 5959, and we got RBC in 79 and not playing the game, and then suddenly 12 sell orders appear the same seconds. Impossible. You can only do that with a bot.
Well,
So
that's going to come on next week, and
yeah.
I'm talking to all my HPQ people, which is go listen to the interview that I did with
Mhm.
Terry Lynch. It's on my LinkedIn and it's on our YouTube
Mhm.
because one of the big parts in there is going to be big rewards are going to be going out to individual investors that participate in the social media campaign. We won't talk about that here, but there are potentially big rewards going to be going out, and we want your participation. And I'd like to see the HPQ Pyro people be the first ones to really take charge with that and lead the way. And there are going to be other companies I know, but since we're talking
No,
about
no,
it, I highly
no,
encourage you guys. It's a good.
we're going to be involved because I've been aware, seeing it. I see the consequences of those issues. This being said, okay, the best solution to resolve all those issues to continue what we're doing, which is delivering on our project. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But people have to understand that there are some people with a vested interest into just making money through the spread. That's how they do it. Okay. Um, and they will pay people to 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 make it look as everything is worse than it is. Okay. And always
Well, that's why
accusing.
we got a Gorecom, right?
That's what we
Yeah,
got.
that's the
So
great
you're
thing about
Gorka, but
Bernard is post your questions. It doesn't matter what somebody says over here. Bernard's
Yeah.
always here to verify it and answer questions for everyone at Agoracom. But we'll talk about all that on another day because today's a great day on
Because
the
you got to go,
industry
you got to call
news.
your bank now. You got
No,
to
I'm
release
not
a
worried
bank
about that at
edition.
all. I want to stay with the vibe of the I want to stay with the
Oh, the
vibe
fume
of the
silica
fact that
vibe is very cool. But
yeah,
it's not,
this is just a
it's
great
not
day and that
negative.
and
It's
we'll
like everything is going, everything is going very well. And what's fun is for once, like, for the last 2 years, you've been listening. I mean, I listen to Financial Network News, from the U.S. and those issues, and risk asset. Nobody's interested. Nobody in this risk. I was saying risk asset's going to be the next big thing. So it's fun because I'm a risk asset that's de-risk a lot. That's the difference. I'm not a risk asset at the beginning. I'm a risk asset. Does that make sense?
yeah, okay, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So
It's a lot different from where you were 5 years ago, that's for sure.
yep.
All right, my man. Congratulations. Everyone's
Thank
happy.
you.
Thanks for giving us that Friday, going into the weekend. I'm sure the vets are gonna have a lot to talk about. A lot of they're gonna start playing the guessing game going forward. They've always been really good at it. But congratulations, my man. We don't take you almost make it look easy. You guys in Pyro, you guys almost make it look easy. We all kind of took for granted that this was going to happen, but nonetheless, it's huge. It's awesome, and can't wait to see what's going to happen in Q4. Have a great weekend, Bernard. Have a drink on us. Pat yourself on the back, but get back to work on Monday, pal. See ya.
Will do. See you.
For everyone at home, have a great day. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us again. See you next time.
Hey Small Cap fam, I hope you loved this interview because more than a dozen people were involved in its production for the sole purpose of making you happy. If so, can you take a moment to support both our awesome guest company and Agoracom? Your engagement means the world to us. First, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up by tapping that like button. It's a small gesture that helps this interview reach even more potential investors to discover today's guest. Second, we would love to hear your feedback on this interview, so please leave a comment below. Be sure to keep it clean, but feel free to poke fun at George. If you loved what you heard on today's video and want to dig into our guest company right away, take a look at the links in the description below. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to never miss another great Agoracom small cap video. Thank you so much. We couldn't do any of this without you. Make sure to come back soon.